when he made appearances as the dad in New Girl years ago. So not only just the film director, but also acting, which is kind of how he got started years ago.
Exactly. I mean, I think that somebody was saying, he was on a set, you know, he was a crew member, and he was saying, you know, they called him Meathead. And it's just, I mean, we grew up watching those. We knew his father was Carl Reiner as well.
Yeah, such a legendary family. Okay, we want to show you this just in. Photos we are getting just now from the Los Angeles Police Department. We have not seen these until this moment. We're looking at them with you. Police making that arrest of Nick Reiner overnight Sunday around the USC area, which of course is quite a distance from the Brentwood area, but that's where he was located. We were told this is where the arrest happened, and now these photos have now just been released by LAPD. You see Nick Reiner there appearing to be on the ground during the arrest.
Yeah, and we know that there, you know, again, there was so much investigation happening within this case for police to find this person of interest, obviously the son. We now are, again, he has not been cleared, medically cleared, so we don't know exactly how DA Hochman is going to present the charges when Reiner will then be appearing in court. We don't know. We're not going to, I don't think we're going to get a lot of details, as many people are very curious about what happened to his parents. You know he attended a holiday party. We saw last night on Jimmy Kimmel that I believe Michelle and Barack Obama, at least we know Michelle Obama, they were going to be visiting with the Reiners on Sunday night. They obviously were close with them. They were devastated to hear about this murder as well, which has really rocked obviously the Hollywood community. But again, we do know that Rob Reiner, he was pretty active politically as well. So we know that that everyone has been, this has kind of hit a lot of different arenas within the political community, the entertainment community, and just so many fans watching this. And there are a lot of parents out there. We know that you can see the picture right there of the Reiners, and we know that their son had battled with addiction. He even worked with his father on a movie discussing and kind of investigating addiction. And this has hit a lot of, pretty close to home for a lot of families who also deal with this.
And that film was nearly a decade ago, 2016. Being Charlie was the movie that both Nick and Rob Reiner, father and son, collaborated on, and it was kind of a film that kind of depicted Nick's own struggles that he went through with drug addiction, and something that he battled until recently. We know from a security guard who spoke to our cameras outside the house in Brentwood that Nick was, as of recently, back at the Brentwood property, living there, and that he was still struggling. We see people walking in. I believe Nathan Hochman there just to the left of the screen, off camera perhaps, but more members of the county DA's office appear to be entering the room. And again, once they do get to the podium, we'll let you listen in. It's DA Nathan Hochman, also LAPD Chief Jim McDonald, expected to speak any moment now. And you see the massive crowd of media to get the very latest on this developing investigation. Again, no official charges at this point have been filed against Nick Reiner, but that could happen here during this press conference. But again, Nick had been quite public about his struggles over the past decade.
And also the parents, you know, trying to figure out how do they help their son who's battling with addiction. I think he was saying in the movie, Being Charlie, that he was in rehab at age 15, and you're looking at his sister right there, Romy. Apparently, again, we're learning, ABC News sources learning that she found her parents stabbed. But again, and you could just see the outpouring of admiration for Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, and you could see them there talking about the movie. So every time you see, you know, we see these images, we know they work together. His son was battling addiction. He was trying to talk to his family about it. He had been homeless at one point while he was battling his demons. And again, there's a lot of worry that we know that the daughter, you see that as a happy family right there, and it's just so hard to see.
Yeah, it is really tough to see, and there's been so many of those similar emotions that you spoke to with just everyday fans of the family. I mentioned a moment ago, we heard from attorney Alan Jackson outside the courthouse in Los Angeles earlier this morning regarding his client, Nick Reiner. Let's listen to that.
You spoken to your client at all? I'm not commenting any further than what the procedure of the court today is.
How is your client's spirits today?
He's not here. That's the whole point. He's not here yet. We'll be back day to day. The bailiff has indicated that the sheriff's department will take it on a day by day basis, and so hopefully he'll be cleared tomorrow.
Again, you're seeing Nick Reiner's attorney, Alan Jackson, talking to the reporters about their 32-year-old that he had not been medically cleared to appear in court, which of course he does have to be medically cleared. And then we don't exactly know how that's going to take place. Will he then appear in court tomorrow to face the charges? Could he appear in court on Thursday? They do have a certain period of time that they can hold a suspect before he does face a judge. But again, right now they do have to do their due diligence in making sure he is medically cleared to face the charges against him.
Absolutely. For those of you just joining us, 104 here on your Tuesday, Mark Cotto-Robles alongside Colleen Sullivan, and we are breaking in here with this special coverage, just getting the 5-minute mark. I saw it right there, 5 minutes. So we're going to hang with this because we want to make sure we get you the latest information. But what we are waiting on is DA Nathan Hochman to provide an update in the murder case of Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, again found Sunday evening in their Brentwood home, murdered with apparent stab wounds, and going to get the very latest on this case and potentially the announcement of charges that we have been telling you about at this point. Their son, Nick, we saw the video, or at least the photos moments ago, from downtown Los Angeles, at least near the USC area, Sunday evening, perhaps into Monday morning when that official arrest occurred. Those photos we just saw for the first time. Up until now, no official charges. Nick simply in custody without bail, arrested on suspicion of murder. So hoping to get a lot more of those details about what this case is at the moment, what they have learned, what case they are building against the film director's son.
Yeah, we do know Chief Jim McDonnell is going to be, obviously has been meeting with DA Hochman this morning, laying out their evidence to the DA's office for filing consideration. We do know that it could very well likely include 2 counts of murder, maybe additional charges and special circumstances beyond the 2 murder counts. And for now, we do know he has remained in jail on suspicion of murder, but has not been charged. No bail at first. Initially we thought that maybe his bail was, pretty high at $4 million. But again, bail was revoked. He is behind bars, no bail, so he is going to remain locked up. And once he is officially charged, we know that he will make an initial court appearance, which will probably be very quick in front of a judge, but we're probably not going to hear a lot of the details of this case.
And Colleen, we have seen so much reaction, not just from fans across the world over the past 48 hours, but those who worked with him, actors in Hollywood, Kevin Bacon, posting a video as well, along with many other actors that we've seen go public over the past 48 hours, speaking about the kindness of Rob Reiner, how he made set a fun place to be over the years.
And everybody was so lucky to work with him. And I watched that same Kevin Bacon video, and he said he ate lunch with his talent, with his crew,
with the cast,
every day. And he said that was the first time that has ever happened with him, with the director, and that was the last time.
And it was Jerry O'Connell was the other name I was thinking of. I saw him make some comments as well this week, saying that Rob Reiner, to him, he has a father, but that Rob was also like a father figure in his life. He was just 11 years old with Stand By Me, where he got his major start into the entertainment industry, and how Rob was just so kind and guiding to him during that project, and something that stuck with him, of course, throughout his career. And so he, of course, suffering that loss as well, along with so many actors. You think about all the people that worked with him.
The actor from the Wonder Years. He said he worked with him, and he said it was just an incredible experience. Again, these are actors who have worked with him. We have seen crew members who have worked on the sets with him saying that he made sure that he saw them. And then we've enjoyed so much of his acting. And I know, I think we keep hearing about it, but when Harry Met Sally, obviously the best rom-com, it's an iconic movie, and that he changed the ending because he fell in love with his wife, Michelle, during that. Because at one point, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, their characters were not going to be together at the end, but since he found love, he thought, okay, let's put them together at the end. So
one of my favorite stories from that movie is the diner scene,
Yes,
of course,
right.
so memorable,
Yes.
but that Rob put his own mom in that
Yeah.
scene for the I'll have what she's having.
exactly. I mean,
And that was Rob's mom.
but he came from a really well-known, background with theater. His father was Carl Reiner. So I think they're coming to the stage right there, to the podium.
big
Let's
crowd.
listen in.
Less than 2 minutes. We're coming out right now. So
Right there, that is Josh Rubenstein with the Los Angeles Police Department. So, of course, we have LAPD Chief Jim McDonald that will be speaking during this news conference as well. So Josh is going to kind of get things in order about what we're going to expect. I see Chief McDonald just
So
standing
this is
off to the left.
going to be an update on
Let's
the
listen in to
homicide
make sure we're
investigation
on
of Rob
track
Reiner
here.
and Michelle Reiner. You're going to hear from the Chief of Police, Jim McDonald from the Los Angeles Police Department, and the District Attorney, Nathan Hochman. Just want to level expectations. We will allow some time for questions, but because of this is a preliminary investigation still, very active. It's being filed as we speak. There's not a lot we're going to be able to say right now. Also, if you would, please quote one question at a time so that we can hear the question and answer it appropriately. So if we could have that decorum in here. DA Nathan Hochman.
My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. Today I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Singer Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty. We have requested, and currently Nick Reiner is being held without bail. Now, before in announcing these charges, I also want to announce that they're just that. They are charges. Charges are not evidence. Evidence is something that we will be presenting in a court of law to meet the standard of proof we meet in every criminal case, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, to 12 jurors who will unanimously have to find that we've met that standard to prove the charges we bring to court. Right now, with respect to the process, once the charges get filed this afternoon, Nick Reiner will be then brought to court. He is going through medical clearance, something that everybody who gets arrested and gets held in a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department jail goes through. Once he is medically cleared, he will be brought to court to be arraigned on these charges. At that point, he will enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Now, prosecuting these cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and most heart-wrenching cases that this office faces because of the intimate and often brutal nature of the crimes involved. Rob Reiner was a brilliant actor and director, an iconic force in our entertainment industry for decades. His wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, was an equally iconic photographer and producer. Their loss is beyond tragic, and we will commit ourselves to bringing their murderer to justice. I want to thank LAPD Chief McDonald, who is here today, along with Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton from the LAPD and LAPD Captain Scott Williams and the entire robbery homicide division, who literally has been working around the clock to gather the evidence that have led to the charges we're going to be filing today. Also from my office, I have Assistant District Attorney Maria Ramirez. I have Director of Specialized Prosecutions, John McKinney. I have our Head Deputy of Major Crimes, Craig Hum. And I have the 2 prosecutors who will be leading the prosecution in this case, Assistant Head Deputy of Major Crimes, Habib Balian, and Deputy District Attorney for Major Crimes, Jonathan Chung. They will bring their decades of experience to holding this murderer accountable for his actions. At this point, again, you will hear in the media rumors, you will hear speculation, you will hear hearsay. What I'm asking everyone to do is to rely on trusted sources. If it doesn't come from the District Attorney's Office, from LAPD, from the Coroner's Office, or from the courtroom itself, then there is a good chance you are hearing misinformation. Because at the appropriate time, the actual evidence involved in this case will be presented in a court of law. So I ask for your patience until that is done. But again, please do not rely on rank speculation, rumor, or hearsay to believe that you understand anything about what went on in this case. I'd now like to turn it over to Chief McDonald.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today. And it's with deep sadness that I address the tragic loss of Robert and Michelle Reiner. On December 14th, 2025, LAPD officers from our West Los Angeles division responded to a death investigation at the 200 block of South Chadbourne Avenue, which is in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles. Upon entering the residence, they discovered the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Reiner. Detectives from our Robbery Homicide Division Homicide Special Section immediately initiated a comprehensive investigation. The evidence gathered led to the arrest of their son, Nick Reiner, who was taken into custody later that night without incident in the Exposition Park section of our city. Today, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office has formally filed charges against Mr. Reiner for the murder of his parents. This case is heartbreaking and deeply personal, not only for the Reiner family and their loved ones, but for our entire city. We extend our deepest condolences to all of those who were affected by this tragedy. I want to take a moment to recognize and thank our criminal justice partners, the District Attorney's Office led by D.A. Hochman, and everyone who worked tirelessly on this investigation. Their swift action, professionalism, and commitment to justice have been instrumental in bringing clarity and accountability to this case. The LAPD remains steadfast in our mission to protect life and uphold justice. We will continue to support the Reiner family and ensure that every step forward is taken with care, dignity, and resolve. Thank you.
We'll now take some questions. Yes, right here in the front.
Mr. Attorney, could you talk about why you feel this case rises to special circumstances?
So special circumstances is a situation where one of the enumerated factors that lead to elevating in some ways a first-degree murder case to a special circumstance first-degree murder case occurs. One of those special circumstances is called multiple murders. Here we have two, and it qualifies under the definition of multiple murders to allege the special circumstance in this particular case.
Chief,
I saw over here.
Nick Reiner found, and was there any evidence on him indicating a crime, and did he say anything?
Yeah, he was found with good, solid police work, investigative tools used by Robbery Homicide and Gang and Narcotic Division detectives with the U.S. Marshal Service Task Force involved as well. So we're thankful for the work that was done. I won't go into talking about what was found or anything that could potentially taint the investigation.
Chief, one follow-up question,
Yeah.
sir. Given Nick's history of drug use, was there any indication that he was under the influence at the time of this crime?
No, thank you again. That's another question I can't touch.
And following up on that, is there any evidence of mental illness in his background?
Yeah, you can talk.
I'm sorry, please repeat the question.
Is there any evidence of mental illness in his background beyond the addiction?
The evidence, any evidence, if there is any, of mental illness for his background will be coming out in the hearings that will occur. We anticipate, again, after the arraignment, the process will go through the normal process a case like this goes through. At the appropriate time, if there is evidence of mental illness, it will be presented in court and in whatever detail the defense seeks to do that. Yes, right here.
Are you anticipating any kind of significant delay in bringing this case to trial on the basis perhaps that Dick may have to undergo significant psychological evaluation, which would also give your people what they need in the way of background to what might describe why his
We don't anticipate any significant delay more than is involved in a first-degree murder case with special circumstances. These are some of the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring against anyone. And we anticipate that the discovery that we will produce to the defense will be robust. It will be very involved. They'll want adequate time to review it. They'll want to go through every single factor that they can ascertain in the defense of Mr. Nick Reiner. So again, this will proceed along the tracks that many of the first-degree murder cases proceed. Do I anticipate it being particularly fast? No. I anticipate it being very thorough. Yes, right here.
Cause of death and time of death. Can you share any information about that?
We are not at this time. Yes. Yes, right here.
Did the members of the Reiner family help with your investigation so far, and did they provide any information or assistance which led to Nick being arrested?
Let me defer to the chief on this.
Hi, I'm Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton, Chief of Detectives. We don't have any specific information we're going to release at this time regarding the family's information they provided. As we move forward, that information will be discussed in the appropriate venue, which will be the court.
Yes, in the front here.
Sorry for the chief. Can you talk anything more about just not the condition that Nick was in when he was arrested? Was he a resident? Was he walking around? Was he observed by people in the neighborhood? Like anything else you can tell us about the case?
Yeah. So specifically, he was arrested in a public area, in the Exposition Park area near the University of Southern California campus. He was approached by the officers and he was arrested without incident. There were no indications that there was no indication that he was going to resist or anything like that. He didn't flee or anything like that. He was taken into custody without issue, and he was transported to our police headquarters facility.
Take a question back there, yes. He has been alleged, one of these special allegations is that the murder was committed with a deadly weapon or a knife. As to where and how the weapon was located or will be located, that will actually be evidence we'll present in court.
We got two more questions. Where were the victims found?
Let me take a question over here.
Give us a timeline of when you think the murders occurred, because now we know that there was an altercation on Saturday night at a party. Do we know that this happened Saturday night or maybe Sunday morning?
I'll defer to the chief on this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we don't have that kind of specificity yet. We're waiting the coroner to be able to try and determine as best they can at this point, time of death.
Chief, where were the victims found? Can you say where the victims were found?
We'll take the question back there.
Yes, can you tell us who called 911?
Chief, if you
We
know.
got a radio call from fire department.
Okay, so in terms of how the Los Angeles Police Department became aware, it was a request from the Los Angeles Fire Department, who responded to the scene first. We responded to their request for assistance at the scene of the incident. Our initial West LA officers that responded determined that a crime had occurred, and they immediately notified our robbery homicide division. They've responded, and they've taken over the investigation since that point.
Thank you, everybody.
We'll take one more question. I'll take it right here.
I know you're hesitant to talk about sensitive evidence, but based on the evidence collected to support these charges, did that include an admission by the defendant to the alleged crime?
So any statements made by the defendant at any point in time would be the type of evidence that we will be presenting in court. I'll take one last question right here.
Sorry, I have a question.
Hold on one second. I just identified this gentleman.
Oh, I thought you were pointing at me.
Sorry.
Do you have an estimated time for completion of the autopsy and the information coming from the medical examiner to your office and to the detectives?
We do not have the estimated time that it will take. We know that they are working on it expeditiously, but as to when they deliver it, we do not have that estimated time. I'll take that one last question back there.
I was just wondering, I know these types of cases are especially difficult. How much do you take into account what the family wants when it comes to charges when you're dealing with a domestic situation like that? And does that factor into whether you will go after life of parole or possibly death penalty?
In these cases, like any of these cases, we will take the thoughts and desires of the family into consideration in making our decision. Thank you all very much.
How is the arraignment
All right, you have been listening live there in downtown Los Angeles. Los Angeles County DA Nathan Hochman and LA County, or LA Police Chief Jim McDonnell, I should say, finally announcing those charges that have been filed or are being filed as we speak right now against 32-year-old Nick Reiner, son of Rob and Michelle Singer Reiner. 2 counts of first-degree murder, along with a special circumstance of multiple murders and a special allegation, which is using a knife. And so what we did not get the answer to, Colleen, was as this is filed and potentially as we speak, if he would still in fact appear today in court. It might be tomorrow.
Well, they said he hasn't been medically cleared. And again, they said that they haven't for sure. This does qualify for, because it's a multiple murder situation, it qualifies for special circumstances, but they haven't actually decided what special circumstances, if it is going to be the death penalty. So again, that will obviously be playing out. They said it's going to be a robust investigation, a very thorough investigation. They're not going to rush it. Again, you can't help but think about DA Hochman and Chief McDonnell, both of them. Hochman saying this loss is beyond tragic. Chief McDonnell saying this is heartbreaking and deeply personal. You know, these are both family men. You know, arriving onto this investigation has been deeply personal as well.
Again, 32-year-old Nick Reiner arrested in jail without bail, now being charged as we speak on 2 counts of first-degree murder, along with a special circumstance and special allegation. We, of course, will continue following this developing story online, abc7.com, and continuing coverage on Eyewitness News at 3 p.m. We'll see you then.
This has been breaking news on Eyewitness News. Get alerted first to breaking news happening around you. Download the ABC7 Eyewitness News app.